and sit down.
Hey everybody, it's summertime here on Toy Talk, and I hope everybody is getting out, having some fun, enjoying the sun. But I want to talk to you this month about how our actions and our words affect other people and impact their lives, and probably a lot more than you've ever realized. Now, we all realize that our actions and our words impact our lives and have an effect on them, and I'm sure we realize they affect our family and our close friends and significant others, people very close to us. But once we get beyond our little inner circle that most people have, we don't tend to think of what we say and what we do impacting people outside of us or people in different areas. But I want to tell you that your actions and your words do impact others. And I want to talk a little bit about some situations where that has occurred. Now, in 1954, it was considered impossible for a man to run a mile in under 4 minutes. Now, I'm not just saying that it had never been done. It was literally considered impossible. Doctors had written papers stating that if a human body ever moved at that rapid a pace, the heart would shut down immediately and the person would die. But in 1951, one man got it in his mind that this was possible. Roger Bannister was an Olympian that had set the British record for the 1,500 meter race in the 1951 Helsinki Olympics. And it was at this point in time that Roger Bannister got it in his mind that he had a new goal to run a mile in under 4 minutes. And he immediately started training for this, both physically and mentally. Roger Bannister says that he saw himself finishing that mile in under 4 minutes thousands of times in his mind before he ever successfully ran it. But on May 6th, 1954, he accomplished this feat. Roger Bannister stepped onto the track at Oxford University, and before a huge crowd and being broadcast on radio throughout the entire world, Roger Bannister ran a mile in 3 minutes and 59.4 seconds. He did what people had considered impossible. But here's the greater part about that. The more amazing part is that it was only 64 days later that another man beat Roger Bannister's record. See, throughout all of human history, nobody had ever been able to run a mile in under 4 minutes because they didn't believe it was possible. But once Roger Bannister showed that it was possible, other people started to do it. And now, 65 years later, in 2019, more than 1,400 people have run a mile in under 4 minutes. Now think about that. Throughout all of recorded history, thousands and thousands and thousands of years, nobody was ever able to accomplish this feat. But in the 65 years since the first person did it, more than 1,400 people. You see, these people saw what Roger Bannister accomplished, and it impacted their lives. It affected them. It helped them realize they could also accomplish this feat. The unfortunate part about this is that although our actions can positively influence people, they can also negatively impact people. And you know what? I've been on the receiving end of this. You know, all my life I've loved to swim. I was swimming from a very young age. And honestly, to this day, the most peaceful place in the world for me is floating in a pool or a lake, some kind of a body of water on my back, eyes closed, just head up, floating on my back, and just, it's my Zen place. And so as soon as I was old enough to join the local swim team, it was around 6th grade, I ran right out and I did so. And of course, being one of the youngest and one of the smallest and one of the newest members on the team, I was also one of the slowest. And this was to be expected. I didn't expect to be as fast as the people that had been on the team for years, but I would look out at them, these high school students, and they seemed like they were just shooting across that pool at lightning speed to me. And I would look at that and think, man, someday I'm going to go that fast. I'm going to be that good. And I knew I would. I had the total positive mindset on that. I knew it was just a matter of time and training and growing. But one day that all changed. There was a day when the coach took me aside after practice and we were talking, and I don't remember what I said to him, but his response to me was, Jack, you're never going to be that good of a swimmer. You're too short. You don't have the reach to be able to beat the other swimmers, the better swimmers. You might be okay, but the truth is, you're really never going to be that good. And all the wind went out of my sails, and just, it was a short time after that I left the team. I kind of figured, hey, if I'm not going to get better, or if I'm not going to really get good at this, why keep doing it? I did continue to swim and got better, but never as good as I would have had I stuck with the team. And this impacted me in a lot of other areas of life. When it came to other sports, I was playing Little League Baseball, but I would never swing at the ball in a game because I had it in my mind that you're going to strike out anyway. You might as well just stand here rather than to swing the bat and make it look like you failed. And the ironic thing about baseball is in practice, I would swing and hit the ball all the time and hit it pretty well. But in a game, I wouldn't swing. In basketball, whenever I got the ball in my hands, I would pass it away as quick as possible. I would never shoot because I had it in my mind, if I shoot, I'm just going to miss. But then a lot of times, again, in practice, I'd be putting the ball through the hoop on a regular basis. I mean, I remember times where the coach would be saying, get the ball to Jack, he's got the hot hands. But in a game, I would never shoot. And it's not like I ever thought I was going to be some great athlete, but this carried over negatively into a lot of other areas of my life. When I got to high school, even things that I was good at, I was basically afraid to do. I was always a pretty good singer, and there was always people looking for lead singers for their bands, but I would never audition because I did not want to face the rejection of them not choosing me, even though I could sing. I was always pretty good at acting, but I never auditioned for parts because I was afraid I would get turned down, I would be rejected again. I mean, as far as dating or asking somebody else, I never even would have thought of approaching a girl because I just assumed she would turn me down. And it wasn't until college when this started to change. I finally did go out and audition for a play in college. I got the part, did well. People started encouraging me. I started getting built up, having good friends, and everything just started to turn around and my mindset started to change. It turned more positive. And over the years, I have gotten a more positive mindset, and I've had to work at that though. And honestly, even today, I have to struggle and work at keeping a positive mindset. All because of something that one man said at one point in time. And I don't say any of this to get anyone to say, oh, poor Jack, or to think, oh man, just think bad for me. The reason I say this is to show you that the actions, the things we do, and the words we say can impact and affect other people's lives greatly, even when we don't realize it. See, Roger Bannister probably didn't realize that by running a mile in under 4 minutes, he was going to impact thousands of other people's lives, that they would be able to turn around and do that because of his actions. And that swim coach, I can guarantee you that if he knew what he said was going to impact me in such a negative way, he never would have said it. But that's just the point. We need to stop and think about what we're saying and what we're doing before we say them or do them, because they do impact people, and they probably impact people that you've never even realized they have or would impact. And especially in today's society, with all the technology we have, with the internet, we could be sitting in our home, typing something on our computer, and it can affect somebody. You could be sitting in New York and affect somebody in Thailand or Taiwan, across the globe, and you can do that for positive or negative. So stop and think about what you're saying, stop and think about what you're doing, and let's get out there and make some positive impacts in this world. We're going to catch a commercial.
Say, kids, what is it up in the sky? Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Superman. Yes, sir, kids, a real flying Superman that can be yours. Looks just like Superman himself. He's made of tough blue plastic and has a bright red cape that fits on his shoulders. With your flying Superman, you get a powerful launcher to send him sky high, zooming through space just like Superman does in his adventures. Now, you'll want to be one of the first to have your own flying Superman, so listen carefully, because here's all you do to get yours. Send one box top from Kellogg's Corn Flakes and just 10 cents. That's one box top and just 10 cents to Flying Superman, Box 330, Battle Creek, Michigan. Or use the handy order blank right on the Kellogg's Corn Flakes package. Get your Flying Superman from Kellogg's now.
Well, I'm excited about this episode of Toy Talk. When I first started the show, after the second episode, I got a PM on Facebook from a man in New Zealand telling me that he'd been watching Toy Talk and it really had been helping him. It spoke to him, and that he was a single father as well, had 3 kids, and we got to chatting. And a few months later, I noticed he had put a bunch of artwork up on Facebook. It was all pop culture pictures and stuff. They were just awesome. And I said, Michael David Key, you have got to come on and do Toy Talk. And so we've got you here finally in this episode and want to welcome you to Toy Talk. Let's all welcome Michael David Key. What's up, Mike?
Hi, Jack.
Mike, so what you do is you've been an artist most of your life. You've been drawing pretty much all your life.
That's right, yeah.
And you do these like kind of pop culture figures, different TV shows and movies. You do it, and from what I've seen, in colored pencil. And then you do something a little different with them. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
So what I do is I draw my pictures and then I take them to conventions and I get the person that I've drawn, the celebrity that I've drawn, to autograph my picture.
Yeah, and you've done like all kinds of movies, from Star Wars to TV shows like Red Dwarf. I mean, how did you get started into doing this?
So it was probably about 20 years ago, really. There was a couple of things that sort of gave me the impetus to do this. One of them was something that you talked about in a previous episode of Toy Talk, and that was the movie Mr. Holland's Opus.
Yes.
I watched that movie, and that had a big impact on me. It made me think that, you know, what's the point of being, you know, around, and what am I going to leave behind? What can I do? What talents have I got? What can I do in that sort of opus?
And I'm telling you, people, you got to check out his artwork. That definitely is a talent.
Yeah.
But go ahead, yeah.
And then I was always been into sci-fi and things like that from a young age. And I was reading a magazine. It's a Starburst magazine that they used to have in the UK here.
They're
they had
very
an interview
cool,
with
yes.
DeForest Kelley.
Bones from Star Trek. Yep.
How important to him the fans were, and the fan mail, especially. He tried to answer almost all of the fan mail that he received. And that kind of got me thinking maybe I could combine my artwork talents with that, really. Imagine how great it would be to draw a load of pictures and post them out. And then every so often, one would come back in the mail and you wouldn't know what it was. And the excitement of opening it up and finding out who had signed it and what it was and everything like that. So that's why I started that. But when it came to actually doing it, and I'd drawn some of the pictures and posting them out, I kind of feel I didn't want to risk, you know, losing them.
Oh, absolutely. You put all that time into the artwork, so
yeah.
you ended up connecting with people throughout the world.
If they're okay, or if they come back okay, or whatever, really. So I then just started taking them to conventions myself, presenting them and getting them signed sort of in front of me.
And you've mentioned to me before that you ended up eventually, since there's not a lot of conferences in New Zealand, you started sending out to people you could trust around the world that would bring them to the conventions for you and get them signed.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, my drawings are actually a lot better travelled than I am.
Yes.
Drawings travel all around the world. It's through my drawings, and then later I started the Facebook page, that I've made these friends all around the world.
Yes.
Really, America, Canada, England, Ireland, Australia, all around the world. And if there's a convention that someone's appearing at that I need a drawing signed at,
yeah,
I post them to my friends, and they take them for me and post them back. So
the Facebook page, just to tell people, is Mike's Star Art. And
that's
you
right, yeah.
gotta check out some of his artwork. He does these, like I said, they're colored pencil drawings. They look like they're photographs of the people. They're just done so incredibly well. And you've covered so many different movies and TV shows, but we've picked 4 that kind of go through the years that we're going to talk about, and we'll take a look at some of the artwork. But the first one was the original Batman series, which was Adam West and Burt Ward. And what made you decide to draw these guys?
Some of it is, most of the shows that I've drawn are shows that I've loved, that I've grown up with.
Of course, yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm.
And then other drawings are maybe of people in the genre that are coming, that I can see they're going to be at shows that I could potentially get a drawing signed by. So I actually never met Adam West.
But you did get the autograph, so you sent that out to somebody.
Yeah. Burt Ward. I did see Adam West at a convention one time in England, but I didn't get the drawing signed by him then. This one got posted to a friend in England.
Okay.
And they were going to a convention in America, and they took them to America, and they got signed in America. So like I say, the drawings are far better travelled than I am.
They are. And Gary Sommers, who was on the show before, talked about he was the first person to ever get Adam West to come sign autographs not in the Batman costume at conventions. He had talked to Adam West about coming out to his Comic-Con show, and Adam was like, I really don't want to do those. They always want me to put on the Batman suit. And Gary said, no, just come out as yourself. And that's where it all started. And we didn't get to mention this in the show, but actually it was Gary's Comic-Con was the last place that Adam West ever did sign autographs before he passed away.
Right.
So there was a lot of carryover on that. And of course, it was a hugely popular show.
Yeah, well, it was on when I was a little kid, as a child in the 70s, England.
Yes.
The movie would get shown and the TV series was on. I always remember the
original
movie and
Batman
how funny
movie, yes.
that was.
Yeah, it was great. I was a little kid. You were about the same age. I was born in 71, and that's when I remember watching. And it wasn't Batman. We're so used to saying Batman now, but it was Batman and Robin, man. It wasn't until Michael Keaton's movie that we started thinking of Batman as an individual entity. We're going to move on, talk about some different shows throughout the years, like I said. And the second one that was when I saw the pictures, I said, we've got to do this because it's one of my all-time favorite TV shows, and you don't get it mentioned as often, and that is Quantum Leap. Yeah.
Quantum Leap, yeah.
Absolutely. Scott Bakula and, gosh, I just lost the name for a second, but Scott Bakula, Dean Stockwell, thank you. They were just so well paired together. I mean, the show was so original. The storylines were excellent. It just took you on an adventure you couldn't go on with any other show, going through time. But it wasn't just like we're Doctor Who, we're traveling through time and space. It was actually throughout events that happened or that could have happened within our actual lifetimes.
It was a really fun show. Something different every week.
Yes.
Different situation, different era.
It was great.
I watched that when it was on, and then more recently I've got to watch that again with my kids. And they really enjoy that.
That's fun. I just watched it again in the last year. I watched the whole series straight through again on DVD. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's fun to revisit these things and share that, get that
with your children. Yes.
Through them.
I remember sitting around watching it. This was before cell phones. I was working at the Boston Film Video Foundation in the early 90s when it came out, and I remember bringing in a little portable battery-powered TV.
It was a lot harder to see these things. They were on once.
Exactly.
That was it. They were gone.
If it was once, you'd have to catch it in reruns. You couldn't just go to on demand or on DVD and just watch it whenever you want.
You didn't get to see. You got told off. You couldn't have any TV that night or something. You'd missed it. It was gone.
Yeah.
So nowadays with streaming videos and DVDs,
you can just watch it anytime you want. But this was a different time. And do you have the pictures of them that you did?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at those. I'm telling you, his artwork is just so phenomenal. And of course, Scott Bakula.
I actually have two drawings signed with Scott now. One of Quantum Leap.
Yes.
And one of
Star Trek Enterprise. I did notice that. Yes.
Yeah.
On your page.
I didn't meet Scott, unfortunately, yet. They were posted to America and taken by a friend.
Okay.
But I did get to meet Dean Stockwell.
Oh, you did? Now, Dean has since retired from acting, from what I've read online, but he was just phenomenal in this show. He was just the perfect counterpart to Dr. Sam Beckett. They were a great team. And honestly, as we see all these shows coming back, especially from the 90s, all these reboots and, remakes, and it's one, I'm usually not into those a whole lot, but that's one I really would not mind seeing. I would not have a problem going back and seeing some new Quantum Leap episodes, Yeah. Yeah, it'd be a fun show.
Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. The new Battlestar Galactica was incredibly, popular.
Yeah, some do better than others, like you said, but I mean, that one still just had so much more potential and so much more that could have been done. But
look at the pictures.
Yeah,
it's like a song. When you hear songs on the radio, those songs immediately take you back to where you were, what you were doing.
Exactly.
When they come on, it's the same with me for the drawings. When I look at my drawings, I can say, okay, that was signed in so and so, or I was here then, or I was there. It sort of immediately takes you back to that time.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of time, moving forward into, through time, we're kind of taking these TV shows from older to newer. But the other one that really caught my eye that you did, which was from the early 2000s, was Smallville. I remember when this first came out, and all my friends were into 24. Everyone was talking about, you got to see 24, you got to see 24.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I had been a huge Kiefer Sutherland fan in the 80s when The Lost Boys and Young Guns and all that came out. But I was not watching 24 because it ran at the same time as Smallville. And I had to watch Smallville. If I was given the choice, it was the Superman show, man. And Tom Welling did so great.
Different in England, you know, these programs were on at different times.
Yes.
So I got to see both.
Oh, you got lucky. All right.
Yeah, 24 was compelling. You know, as soon as you watched one episode, you needed to watch the next one. It was
Okay.
it carried on.
See, I never ended up seeing it because I just got into Smallville. But
Oh, something to go back to as well.
now
Smallville again was something I watched back in the day, and something
Yes.
that now I'm watching again with
there's
my
those
kids.
green eyes,
Yeah.
man.
Tom Welling and Clark Kent.
Tom Welling was an excellent. I mean, he wasn't quite Superman. He was the young Superman, but he did such a good job of showing a coming-of-age Superman. And, you know, I loved the way that they told the story of him and Lex, how they were such good friends, but, you know, if the people that don't know the show, most do, you know, it starts with him hitting Lex with his car, and or Lex got hit, I'm sorry, and Superman, Kal-El jumps in, Clark, pulls him, rips the top of his car out of in a river, jumps in, pulls the car off, saves him. And as the show goes on, Lex has these suspicions that he had to have ripped this off and saved me. There's no other way. But Clark was not willing to give up his secret to Lex. And it makes you wonder that if he had trusted Lex, you know, could Lex have become a different person than what we know if he just trusted him?
I think his relationship with a lot of people was
Yes.
tainted
Yes.
by his not wanting to share
Exactly.
with information. You know, poor Lana.
Yeah, exactly. There's Kristen Kruk, yeah.
On off, all the way through.
Yes.
Because he wouldn't open up and tell the truth. You know,
Exactly.
so.
But we're going to look at one more show, and this one takes us right up to 2019, where it actually just ended after a very long run. I think it was 11 or 12 years. I'm not 100%. I should have looked that up. But that show was Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean,
Big
looking
Bang
at some of that artwork,
So I've done drawings of
there's Sheldon, who is not quite signed yet, but we're going to get you
No,
there.
some of these are going to be quite hard, I think.
Well, you know, now that the Big Bang Theory is off the air, though, I have a tendency to think there's a good chance you might see Comic-Cons bring in the cast. Last year at Fan Expo in Boston, it was the whole cast of Back to the Future. So, I mean, I think there's a good
It's
chance.
a case of waiting for these things to happen.
Well, that's
I
true,
did-
too, yes.
My
We know Howard
most
signed.
recent autograph was Zoe Saldana from the Star Trek movies. And I drew that picture about 8 years ago, probably. And in the meantime, I've had just about everybody else signed, but she was the only one that I didn't get signed. So, and she'd never been at a convention until last month.
So last month you got it.
I got it after waiting all that amount of time.
But it's amazing. You take the time to do all this artwork, not knowing when or essentially if it's ever going to get signed. I mean, people may never come up at a conference or they could pass away before it's signed, but you've still taken so much time to do this work. And I mean, obviously, you put a lot of effort and work into this. If you go on to Mike's Star Art, anyone watching out there, you're going to see there are just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pieces of artwork on there.
So I've done about 300 pictures.
About
now.
300, okay.
And I have probably about 90% of those autographed.
And
That's
there's
taken
more coming, we know
many
that.
years
Yeah.
to get that far.
Okay. Well, 20 years of doing it. But, I mean, quite frankly, something I don't even know if, to think about it. I mean, I don't know if you have or haven't. And I'm sure there's the personal value of these. But, I mean, there's no other collection in the world of original artwork signed by the actors like this. This is going to have,
Maybe.
at some point, I mean, it's something you can't really put a value on. You can't say it's going to be worth millions, and you can't say it's going to be worth 100. You don't really know.
No.
But it's an original piece that no one else has.
All these sort of drawings that I'm showing you here, they're not drawings that I sell. I mean, I
Yes.
do drawings for people that ask me, commission me to
Okay, yeah.
drawing. But all these ones here, they're just mine.
They're one of a kind pieces. No one can
So,
ever
it
own them but
takes me
Michael
back
Key.
to-
You know?
to Mr. Holotopus, and something to leave behind, some sort of
Absolutely.
point, reason of being.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something that I've done.
And you are doing that, and it's just what we do affects other people and it impacts other people's lives. If they see these, I mean, just like DeForest Kelley, when you were reading the article, it gave you what he said gave you the idea to start drawing these pictures and sending them out. I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to see your artwork and go, man, what a great idea. I could draw so-and-so and send it out, you know? It's impacting.
I mean, there are lots of people, there are far better artists than me.
Oh, you're very good.
There are lots of videos on Instagram and that of people drawing, far better pictures. But
hey, there's always someone better at everything, but you do an excellent job.
Maybe there aren't another 300 that have been autographed.
No, definitely not. But Mike, it's been great having you on Toy Talk, and I look forward to talking to you more. Hopefully we can meet up someday, but in the meantime, we'll chat over Facebook and Google Hangouts and things like this. But thanks for being on Toy Talk, man.
All right, that's great, Jack. Nice to speak to you. Thank you.
All right. And everybody out there, we'll see you again next month. Have a great night.
Shut up and sit down.